This video I'll be showing you guys the updated anime adventures tier list for the Demon Slayer raid update, which I'm slightly delayed for because I was too busy reading manhwa. But anyway, God tier, I'm sure you guys know it. It's just for the character. In this case, there's only gonna be one that's just so OP that it's not even on the level of other meta characters. SK is gonna be mainly for the meta characters, the absolute best. Mostly mythicals and of course the supports, and it's gonna be characters that are the best for at least some purpose or the other, and I'll be telling you those purposes. A tier is going to be for the characters that are extremely good still. It's gonna be for like alternatives for the metas in case you don't have them. B tier is gonna be the best characters for beginners. C tier is going to be characters that are okay for beginners, and D tier is going to be the characters that aren't really good even for beginners. So starting off with the legendary version of AKAZA, I'm gonna go ahead and put him in bottom A tier. I mean, obviously he's not a meta alternative, but the thing is, I would definitely say he's a tier above what's just good for beginners, and that's my clock, ignore that. But most of the characters that are going to be in B tier are gonna be like the best legendaries, and they're gonna be doing around 300 plus DPS. But this dude's actually gonna be doing a lot more than that. He's actually gonna be doing a solid 500 plus DPS, around 570, with around 20 range and fairly good AoE. So yeah, I would say he deserves bottom A tier. This is gonna be the evolved version of Rengoku. As you can see, there's that mark on his eyes. He's gonna be on bottom S tier because honestly he's actually quite good. He's, I think, the highest damaging burner because he's gonna be doing around 1500 DPS with around 31 range and really good AoE. Overall, yeah, definitely the highest damaging burn, like not counting the burn itself, because the burn damage itself, Tatara is gonna be the highest damaging one, but I would still say Rengoku and even Akenu are gonna be a bit better than that. But Rengoku is definitely one of the best burner characters that you can get. Then you have this dude, Arima, who is definitely going to be an S tier because he has one of the highest DPS out of the mythical characters that you can currently get. He's got decent AoE. It's going to be a cone AoE with over 40 range, almost 44 range, and yeah, he's just going to be pure damage, which is why he definitely deserves a solid S tier. Ace is going to be top B tier. I'm not saying he's bad, it's just that I did decide to put AKAZA's legendary in bottom of A tier, and Ace is going to be a bit worse than that because he's only going to be doing around 460 DPS with around 25 plus range. However, he does burn and you can place 5, so you know what, okay, the fact that he can place 5, I'm going to go ahead and put him bottom A tier. He's going to be right about there. Eren Founding Titan is gonna go ahead and be right here. I put him a bit too high before. I'm gonna go ahead and put him a lot lower now, just because, well, he's just gonna be like essentially a single target because he's a summoner, and it is kind of hard to group it such that the boss is in front, because usually the bosses are also quite slow moving. So, and also, yeah, he is extremely expensive, though that's usually not a problem, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put him lower than I did before. Then we have Kaneki, who's gonna be top of B tier. He's gonna be a bleeder, definitely best for beginners because he's gonna be a bleeder doing pretty decent damage. It's just gonna be that his range is really low, just around 17 to 18 range, but still a pretty damn good legendary. Luffy Marineford is gonna be in D tier for obvious reasons. Then we have Future Gohan, who's honestly not too bad. He's gonna have around 30 range with 1000 plus DPS, which is surprisingly good. He's a leaderboard character, meaning he probably won't actually be used, just because of the fact that if you're a leaderboard player, you definitely have those S tier characters, and probably even Lelouch if you are lucky enough. Then we have Eren, who's going to be in C tier. I would say he's okay for beginners because summoners always aren't too bad because it's like good to combat those faster enemies because there's no need to resell summoners. It's just going to be that it's really bad for mob control, because if there's just a lot of enemies, well, summoners are essentially single target. Then we have, but also, yeah, Eren does summon an attack titan that hits them before he actually runs into them, so I mean, that's not too bad. Genos is going to be a pretty fast hitting character, but I'm still going to go ahead and put him in D tier because, I mean, for obvious reasons. Sanji is also pretty decent because he's actually really cheap to place down. However, he also does like have a really tiny range. Piccolo is going to again be in D tier. He just has decent range, but again the DPS is really bad. Then we have Levi, who's going to be top A tier because Levi actually does a pretty good DPS. However, he's has a really tiny circle AoE. He has a chance of critting. I think it's a 25% chance to do double damage, which is actually pretty nice. So accounting for that, he's doing about 1800 DPS, which is really on the higher side, but Arima is just a lot better for quite obvious reasons. Plus he has lesser range, coming in at only 26.4. Then we have Speedwagon, who's going to be bottom S tier because Speedwagon is in fact going to be still really good, especially for story mode, because you can place down 3 of him. He's faster to max out. Then you have Akenu, who's going to be again low S tier. He is the best for something, and that something is going to go ahead and be the fact that he's got a huge range. But honestly, from looking at it, even though in the poll some of you guys said like literally Tatara is probably better, just looking at it multiple times, I feel like Rengoku could even be better than Akenu, just because of that huge AoE and significantly better DPS. But Akenu is still going to be an S tier just because he's one of the highest range characters, coming in at around 53. Noro is going to be in B tier, top B tier, definitely one of the best characters on like story mode for beginners, because he's going to be doing a pretty solid DPS around 350 plus, 330 or so, 24.3 range, and pretty good AoE, and he's also quite cheap to max out compared to most of the others. Then we have Ito, who's going to be top A tier. Ito is really good, but I do not feel like she can be really a meta. Now, she does have this thing where she gains damage every single enemy killed. It's just gonna be a small damage increase, around like 4 per enemy killed, which is okay. She does around 1400 DPS, not including that, with decent AoE and around 53 range. However, the main reason why I'm not gonna go ahead and put her in S tier is just gonna be on the fact that you can only place 3 of her, and that I feel is gonna be a big L compared to most of the other characters, because even if they're doing lesser DPS, you can just place down more of them, which is what makes them better. Then we have Jozu. Jozu is gonna go ahead and be like top S tier, honestly. Jozu's main thing, like he's not gonna be like raw DPS like Arima, but he does have his purpose. He's doing 1700 DPS at max, which is pretty nice, with around 31.5 range and decent AoE. Again, I think it is a cone. But the main thing is gonna be that he is the best bleeder, and bleeding actually reduces the amount of HP regen by around like 75%, which is really good in maps like the Tokyo Ghoul one, where there's a lot of these regenerating enemies. Then we have this dude, this raid character, which honestly I would not say is worth it, Naruto Beast Cloak. He's literally worse in DPS than Gohan, even with similar range and AoE. Then you have Crocodile, who's going to be bottom C tier, because honestly best damaging epic for beginners by far. Even like AoE and stuff is really nice. Then we have Renzi, who's going to be just above Ace, doing slightly more DPS but more or less similar in many aspects. Then we have this dude Zenitsu, who's gonna also be in D tier for obvious reasons. Tatara is going to go ahead and be like top A tier, because Tatara's burn does double damage. However, he only has like just a decent AoE. Again, I think it is a cone. No, it is a circle, so it is good AoE, but his range is only 28, and he's doing around 1050 DPS. So even though it's a double burn, the thing is, overall I would just say that Rengoku and Akenu are just better, because burn doesn't really stack. So that double burn, it's just better to have more DPS or more range, in my opinion. Gaara is also going to be bottom C tier because he stuns, which is pretty helpful. AKAZA Destruction is honestly going to be pretty solid S tier, because he's just really good. Like, I wouldn't say he's the best at anything in particular, but he's still really good. He's doing around 1400 DPS with around 22 range. So far, so mid. But the thing is, you can place 5 of him down, which is really nice. And he has this weird feature which allows him to self-buff by a bit every now and then. I'm not really sure exactly how it works, but I think it's like a 50% buff every few seconds, which is actually really nice. So, I mean, that's what you could say he's the best for. But I'll probably put him a bit lower down. Like, honestly, I feel like Rengoku is probably better just because Rengoku does have more range and AoE. Then the next we have is Law, who's gonna be top D tier. He does good damage, but he is only single target. Erwin is obviously going to be in S tier because, well, he buffs, which is really helpful. He buffs all your units by 25%, meaning he has a really high damage increase potential. Then we have Whitebeard, who's going to be top A tier. Whitebeard is going to be able to push back the enemies using an ability, but All Might is just going to be a better version of that, which is why I'm not going to go ahead and put him in S tier. Blackbeard is going to be right about here. Blackbeard potentially can do help you get more damage than Erwin. It's just that the curse effect, which makes him take like 1.5 times more damage, it's just that it's temporary. That's the thing. So you need to like properly place him all over the map. Though he does have full AoE, which definitely does help. Then we have this dude who has good range and AoE, but really garbage DPS. Then we have Mihawk, who's also going to be in C tier. Pretty decent DPS and range. It's just going to be that his AoE is like really narrow. Tuka is going to be right here. Tuka is like going to be a pretty high damaging thing with like around 380 DPS. It's just going to be that he's a bit costly, and Noro is just going to be a lot cheaper and easier to max out in story mode. Sakura is going to be pretty good for beginners because she buffs your units by 10%. Giorno is going to be right there. He's also cheap, but it's just that Noro is a better version of him. Goku Blue is going to be right there. He doesn't have the best AoE or anything. It's a rectangular AoE, but he does have a really good DPS, though Tuka is definitely a better version of him. Josuke is going to be in D tier. He is able to stun the enemies, but it is a single target. Then this one is going to be All Might. He's going to go ahead and be a pretty solid S tier because All Might can push back the enemies automatically, which really is helpful. Then we have Frieza, who has pretty good AoE and range. It's just going to be the fact that his DPS is not that great. Todoroki is going to be right there in B tier because he's able to slow down the enemies. So it's kind of like a budget Karakuri because it's pretty easy to get him. Broly is going to be right there in S tier. He does not have the best DPS, however he has like 50 range and somehow it's still full AoE, so he's still going to be the best character even though his DPS is now outclassed. It's just full AoE is insanely helpful, guys. Then we have Killua, pretty bad. We have Madara, who's going to be right about here. Madara does like 700 DPS with some 30 range or so burns, but even though it's a good AoE, definitely outclassed by most of those new characters. Bulma is going to be right about here in S tier because why is she going into God tier? Okay, in S tier because, well, she's going to be the best money farm. Kakyoin does have good AoE but still not a good character. Then we have Shanks, who's going to be right there. Pretty nice DPS coming in like 1400 or so. Okay range, full AoE, and he time stops. It's a support, that's why it's going to be helpful. Luffy, I'm not even ordering these ones that are really low, they're just bad. Okay, obviously Luffy is going to be lower. Then we have Overhaul, who does hit fast, but he loses his speed and gets an AoE when you max him. Then you have Kizaru, who's going to be right about here in C tier. Kizaru is okay, but definitely nothing special. Then we have this character, who's Diavolo, who's going to be right about here. Diavolo is doing like 1000 DPS. and he has like just a single target. However, he does do a full map time stop. It's just gonna be that the global cooldown on is extremely long, and yeah, it's just not worth it, and the time stop itself barely lasts for any amount of time. The regular Rengoku, usually I show you just the evolved version, but this is gonna be like the regular one because we got the evolution in a separate update as we got the actual character, which is not something that really happens that often. But Rengoku is only gonna have to be right there because Rengoku does only like 320 damage or so, which honestly is nothing great. DPS, I mean, at max. Then we have Dio, who's really good. Gonna be right there because he's gonna be able to automatically time stop those enemies, which is obviously really helpful. Then we have Armin, who's going to be right about here in C tier because he has only about 100 DPS. However, it is a full AoE with massive range. And then we have Kakashi, who's going to be right pretty low because Kakashi is just too expensive and he does not do that much damage. Then we have Karakuri, who's going to obviously be a pretty solid S tier. He's got a pretty good range and stuff. Though you can only place down 3 of him, but still overall this dude is pretty good because you can slow down the enemies, definitely an easy meta. Then we have Pain, who's going to be definitely a pretty good character. He's able to push back those enemies, which definitely is quite helpful. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him right about here above most of those characters that aren't really that useful. So Pain is actually pretty good. Then we have Jotaro, who's going to be like a bottom, I'm just gonna go ahead and put him top B tier. He's also gonna be good for beginners because Shanks is obviously gonna be the best, but this dude also is able to manually time stop, which is still quite helpful and honestly a pretty good starter character for beginners. Then we have Itachi, who's going to be still a pretty solid C tier. Nothing very special, but he's not bad. He's going to be doing some Amaterasu burn. It's just that his range and stuff isn't that good. This dude, Darby, is going to be one of the worst legendaries. He burns, but it's just not that much DPS. Then we have Naruto, who's also going to be right about here in C tier. He's just going to be fodder, and honestly it's not worth it because even the mythical version of him is not that good. And finally we have Zeke, who has really good range. It's just that his SPA is extremely slow. I'm gonna go ahead and put him right there. So that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.